great to see all of you out here. Thank you so much for coming all different parts of the land. I talked to a lady who came from Hollywood, and we have a couple people that came from Woodland Hills. Hi, Mike. How you doing? We do have a couple of our angels in the group. There are angels among you. So if I could get you to either raise a hand. I see Dale Acuna right there. I see Kristen over here. Mark's son and Kim over there. Mimi, are you still here? Mimi's in the back. Still there. Who else?
Julie.
Who?
Julianne.
Oh, Julianne. Yeah, where's Julianne? Okay. And did I miss anybody? Yes, Mike, you will be known. So we're your neighbors. We're your people that you see in the grocery store. We're not some sort of crazy people that just meet in secret or whatever. And we've been around for a long time. We've been around since 2000. And as you can see, we've been very active. We've invested $65 million in over 175 companies, which is pretty good. Not bad for a group of roughly 100 people. And last year we had a good year. We invested about $5 million in 27 deals. So that's pretty good. If you look at an average venture firm, did they do 28 deals, 27 deals last year? Maybe not. Does anyone know the difference between a venture firm and an angel group? Go ahead, sir.
Oh.
You raised your hand.
I know. I didn't know I was going to be called on. Just okay. Angels primarily invest less than $1 million. Usually it's individuals who put in 25 to 50 grand approximately.
You can come on up. You
put the spotlight on me, so.
And you willingly accepted it. Good.
VCs, invest much more and have a.
But whose money do they invest?
Well, VCs, there's a pool of,
Whose money is it?
There was, okay, I didn't really know this was happening.
You sat next to Dale. That's a sign right there.
So, there's a fund,
and those funders, is it their money or somebody else's?
It's other people's money.
Oh, okay, other people's money. And angel money comes from himself. So
thank you.
Just remember, give it up for him. Give it up for him. Great job. He'll be here next week. Angel money comes from the people themselves that earned it and have gotten it, whereas venture funds usually, some of it is their own money, but can come from other people's money too. So remember that when you're talking to them, because it's more of an emotional sale. Because when you're going and talking to them, you have to be able to understand that they're reaching into their pocket, trusting you, and it's their money. So it's a little easier. When it's other people's stuff, some people say, well, I trust, I'm tougher on other people's money than mine, but most of us are pretty, the money we earn, we're pretty near and dear to us. So it's our money. So remember, the sale is a little bit more processed, a little bit more emotional. That's why it takes a little longer at certain times. We had 3 successful exits this year, which we're very happy about. And I'm going to be talking about the lessons learned, because all of you drove from all parts of Los Angeles, and I have to give you something that you don't know. All of you know everything about startups and everything about funding and everything else. I will actually give you real life examples, and I'll also quote some statistics from the Angel Resource Institute. If you're interested, one of the important things is when you come to an angel group, what are their expectations? And so we're trying to set those up front. That we do early stage investing, and we prefer that you have a prototype and or some market validation. We're a very strong believer in lean startup. Are there any lean startup people here? Okay, we're doing an event, which I'll do a little commercial on at the end, on the 22nd here in Cross Campus. And we're going to feature several speakers and a panel on lean startup. So it is something that makes people much more comfortable with investing. So we had 3 last year. We had Bluebeam, which basically was electronic blueprints. And originally it was just a way that people could make PDFs out of these blueprints. And so the people in the construction industry said, no, we need a way to be able to mark things up, change things, communicate and stuff, so they created a whole platform for it. But as you notice, it took over 12 years. It was not a quick one, and we did get a 20 times return on that one. Open English was an ed tech company that helped teaching English, especially in Latin America and the US Hispanic market. And again, it took a little while, it took 7 years, but a nice return on that. And one that we're quite proud of is our first IPO, which is MindBody, which is a customer relationship management software for yoga studios and salons. It went public last year. It was a long slog. It was, I think it was 11 years, Dale? I think it was 11 years, something like that. And quite about 120 times return. Now these are the ones that made it. There is a long list of them that Dale and I could share with you that have not made it. So we take a lot of chances, and every once in a while they work out for us. But all of these have been very hard, very hard fought. So here's what we learned from them. CEOs have two major traits: resourcefulness and persistence. So I know all of you are persistent because you showed up here this morning. And you had to find parking, you had to get up here, even though the coffee is delicious and everything. It does require a lot of work just to show up, right? And these people showed up for 10, 11 years in order to get their exits. Resourcefulness. They use networking functions like this. They used other people that they know to find people to help them. You cannot do this alone. It won't work. You can't sit there in your garage and just create something and figure out that it's going to be successful. The reality is that you need to know people and need to get out and get up early on a Friday morning, meet people who might be able to introduce you to somebody else. All these people do this. Open English is a great example of a guy who he had some international connections and worked his way through the system to be able to get a lot of good endorsements for his product. And all of them really paid attention to their business. They looked at their strategy, says, well, it's going good. Looks like the market's changing a little bit. Two of them did not pivot. Two of them kind of went on the same arc that they had originally laid out. One of them did. One of them pivoted greatly, which was Bluebeam, which started out as a single utility and then turned into an entire platform. But it worked out pretty well for them. And all of them, listen to this, ladies and gentlemen, all of them went through early stage challenges. You will be to the point where I only have enough money for payroll next week, or I'm not sure where my next sales come from. But they all, through their persistence and resourcefulness, found a way to get revenue growth and make it through. And so the big difference is that startups, their ability to navigate through the noise and keep their eye on the prize. So as angels, we're the Pasadena Angels, and so in Southern California, you've got a great network of funding. We have the Tech Coast Angels, which many of you know. There are five little entities across Southern California with about 300 and some odd members. Last year they raised about $13.5 million. We have Golden Seeds, which is primarily a female-run focused angel group, and they're located in Orange County. We have other ones, Keiretsu, other ones that are around too. Those are the bigger ones that you run into, and all actually the TCA and Pasadena were both top 10 in the nation, ranked by Forbes. So what we all feed into, all the angel groups around feed into a group called the Angel Resource Institute. And Dr. Rob Bobanks is the academician who keeps up with all the data. And so he made a presentation last week, or 2 weeks ago, at the Western Regional meeting. And his three big points of his presentation was that earners do better than burners. What's a burner, sir?
The one who used the money.
Ones who go through the money, say, hey, everything's gonna happen. Earners, people who earn money, actually do a little bit better than burners. Traction is better than total addressable market. You can say, I'm going after this huge thing. Well, if you have some business that actually you have paying customers and preferably paying customers, that's better than going after a huge addressable market, even though you can pivot at some point in time and go after all these other markets. And focusing on break even is better than going for the home run. Keep on building viewership, building whatever is fine, but at some time you're going to have to monetize. Okay, so you might want to start it a little earlier than later. So why us? Well, we've got really smart people like Dale Acuna over there who created a customer relationship management software for the insurance industry and sold it for a bunch of money. So he's a good guy. You sat right next to the right guy. We got Kristen over here, who's an IP attorney who can help you with your IP needs. We've got Julianne, who's a finance wizard. We've got Kim and Mark over there, who are tech people. So we've got a wide variety of people to interact with and to help you. Remember our slogan, it's more than the money. It doesn't cost any money to apply to Pasadena Angels. And when you do, you automatically, as you go through the process, which I'll outline here, has almost built-in consulting to it. So you're going to learn something. You may not like what you learn, but you're going to learn something. We're also, through our affiliation with Cross Campus, are holding office hours here on the second Tuesday and Thursday of each month. We just finished that last week, so this is our second month that we did it. And just to remind you that we invest individually, but what happens is if there's enough of us interested, then we'll pool together as a group, trying to get, having better leverage and trying to get better terms and trying to give you more help. So you could make it through the process, meet Pasadena Angel, and they could invest individually, but you're better off if you come to us and you convince a number of us to invest. And our average investment last year was about $300,000. Everyone says, well, how much do you invest? Well, if you do the math, it was about $300,000 last year. So if you're looking for $1 million, we do have excellent relationships with all the other angel groups that I talked about, including other groups up north, Sierra Angels, Sand Hill, other people that we've done deals with. And we can syndicate deals. So if you need $1 million, you might have to get 300 from Pasadena, and we all work together. We all pass deals along. So when you go through that process, you'd see that. What we look for, obviously the jockey. You. Dale, do you believe in the jockey?
Yeah, I do.
Is that your, say, I believe, Dale. Come on, Dale, say, I believe.
The jockey's more important than the horse.
So we believe in all of you. We want to help all of you. We believe in creating jobs, and we have done that with the company that went IPO, MindBody, is the largest employer in the region, right? So we've really helped the economy up there. The deal, obviously, oh, what about valuation? Don't you? They really want to take it from me. No, we don't. We want to take enough of your company to have a say in it, but at the same time, we don't want to disincentivize you. That doesn't work. We know that. We've been doing this for a little while, guys. We kind of know what works and what doesn't. And we do a bunch of different methods. Obviously, we prefer equity, but we have done convertible note. And there's a little trend for the revenue sharing stuff that's going on. The idea, if you do have a great idea and it's patented, that helps, right? It provides some insurance. Market validation and knowing your competition. Has anyone ever heard that before? Don't come to us and say there is no competition. Because there is. Somewhere, somebody's working on the same thing, or there's indirect competition, right? Everybody wants a piece of your wallet. So here's our process. During the month, we get about 40 applications, which are done online at PasadenaAngels.com. You apply there. Then it goes into it's important to understand the timing too. So the third Wednesday of the month is our pre-screening meeting. So if you apply in the third week of the month, you're probably going to go to the next month. because it takes some time for us to be able to digest and to assign angels to review the companies with. So early in the month is a great time to apply. Out of the 40 or so companies, we all sit together, we decide an angel advocates for you, and we pick the top 4 companies. Those top 4 companies present the last Wednesday of the month. And then we vote. It's a democratic vote, it's not pretty. We don't have any super delegates or anything like that. It's just a straight vote. And the top 2 companies end up coming to our all breakfast meeting. Normally there's between 20 and 30 angels at both of these, so you got about a quarter to a third of our members screening these things. And at the breakfast, it's all of our members, hopefully. So it's probably between, well, I think about 70 and 90 angels, 70 and 100 angels there. And the top 2 companies present in our all-member breakfast. Now we've changed the process over the last couple of years. We actually do a mini due diligence because our desire is to get to yes or no quicker, because that's what you want to know, right? So we actually do a mini due diligence during that breakfast meeting after your presentation, and then we circle around and we figure out what our interest is right there, so that we know that if there's enough energy and interest to move forward to due diligence the next week. Average, we've probably done deals in about 40, 45 days. We've done deals as quickly as 30, but that's not as common. 45 deals is probably about the norm, 40 to 45. And then the next week, if you're selected, if there's enough interest, we may have due diligence. A little commercial here. Kristen is one of our social champions. We're going to have our March 22nd evening mixer. We'll have not only these fine people who showed up today, but probably between 20 and 30 angels here. We'll also have a really, really good, interesting panel about why lean startup is changing everything. So you drove all this way, so you can ask questions. Who wants to start? Do we have somebody?
Okay, there's going to be lots of questions. Yes, please. There you go. Is that working good? Okay, we're going to pass the mic to John. Please ask questions. Let's hold comments, stories, anecdotal jokes for after.
And I'll be here after,
Yeah.
so if you want to meet me face to face or
I have a
anybody
hook.
members.
I have a hook over here. I'm going to pull you when we get this. So here's one. Okay.
Good morning, Chris. Thank you for a great presentation. So those 3 companies that were successful, how many of them were incremental innovation? How many were breakthrough innovation? And in general, how many breakthrough and incremental innovation do you see over the numbers of breakthrough?
Breakthrough? I would say we don't see a tremendous amount of breakthrough. Dale, what do you think? Most of them are incremental. There are a few that are kind of long shots, and maybe someone will take a chance on it. But I'd say the majority of the ones that we fund are probably incremental.
Like 90% or?
I'd say 90. There's probably a flyer somewhere, that we've taken. I'd have to think through all the ones that we funded. Okay?
Chris, thank you so much for coming today. I'm curious about the Jobs Act and how, Title III of the Jobs Act coming up and crowdfunded equity. How do you think this early money ecosystem is going to change from your guys' perspective, but also for all of us, founders at the early stage and trying to get our first money?
We've been very careful with that. We tend to be, if we see a crowdfunded company, we tend to be a little reluctant to jump in, quite frankly. We like crowdfunding in which the Indiegogo, Kickstarter, where you validate the idea and get the market traction. But the ones that raise money like that sometimes are, depending on who the investors are, we're kind of concerned about what might happen down the road.
Can you explain why?
Liability, because some of these people, we're accredited investors. To be a Pasadena Angel, you need to be an accredited investor. Some of these people are not necessarily accredited investors and may not understand they've taken maybe a bigger risk than they should, and if things go the wrong way, they could litigate against the company. So that's a big concern for us. We always just talk through that issue and see what the cap table looks like and go from there.
Over here.
Hi Chris, thank you for coming today. Really great presentation. I have a question regarding the top three, but not just the top three. The one you mentioned didn't make the list. What are the common factors make them lose? Or I don't want to say use the word lose, but didn't make the list. What's the common factor that they didn't make it?
Usually bad cash management. I don't know, Dale, what do you think?
Bad jockey,
Bad jockey.
tough competition.
Yeah, I think a very crowded space, maybe make the wrong, sometimes you make the wrong decision. You have to pivot, right? Sometimes you turn left when you should have turned right, and you don't know that at the time. It looks enticing. And it may not be a bad decision at the time, but it ends up being the wrong way, and therefore you burn through cash, and then you end up with kind of going down a long one-way street with a dead end.
Chris, over here.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
There we go. Thanks for coming. So the Pasadena Angels, you're unified in terms of process and sharing deals with each other, but as you mentioned at the beginning, everyone's an individual with individual interests.
Mm-hmm.
How does the entrepreneur navigate to the folks who are interested in their sector, in their type of solution? I imagine it's usually a subset of the group that's interested in each deal.
It falls out. It falls out in the screening meeting, in which we develop 2 leaders for each of the deals. And these leaders are usually subject matter experts, if we have a subject matter expert there. And they'll lead the deal through the breakfast meeting and be able to kind of translate some of the terms and the competition in that given area. But then a group kind of coalesces. It's kind of like a natural thing where you start, someone's either drawn to them for maybe that they like the jockey, maybe that they like the business, and it just starts to congregate as a group. And we work in a kind of a situation of mutual respect. And so we take everybody's point of view and then kind of add it together. But each group gets drawn. I can't really explain it. It's kind of a natural phenomenon. I don't know if I answered that question, but. Yeah.
So back here. So this is a follow-up question. So you've got a room full of jockeys, and you guys just said, well, bad jockeys. So can you elaborate and be much more specific about what sort of behaviors, thought processes, etc., that sort of lead to your definition of a bad jockey?
Okay,
so
avoid
that.
We've actually asked Rod Wilbank to figure it out for us, and he has yet to be able to figure it out with all the data that we've given him. We like people who are not afraid to ask for help. I mean, angels are more than the money. I know that's kind of a trite thing, but we actually have helped. If you look at Mind Body, I'm not sure Mind Body would have went public without the help of one of the angels who was on the board the entire time. I think he was a very good influence to an excellent CEO. We use the term similar to what you hear with lawyers about grinders. We love grinders, people who work it every day, who try and just incrementally to improve every day. The top person, usually we like to see a great salesperson as the top person, or at least part of the team. One of the things I think there's always concern of is that we're going to hire a great salesperson that's going to turn things around, because I think to have a company and have the passion for it, you need that great salesperson in the initial group. Dale, what else you got?
There's like 5 things that'll kill you, of course. So you have to be good at money. You have to be good at money raising, because you get the initial money, but you're going to need more money probably. So you have to be good at money raising. You have to be a good salesman. And if I looked at this, I've done 60 deals or more.
I think it's more.
Yeah, what killed them most is not bad engineering, and that's a tough one because a lot of the startups start with an engineer to code the application, right? But engineer does not necessarily mean you're a great salesperson. So then you have that weakness. Okay, so nothing against engineers, because salesmen are not necessarily engineers either. So it's team. You gotta have the right structural team, right? So, but biz dev is the biggest fatality that I've seen. Chris said that. That's why we like the CEOs who know how to reach out, get money, make sales, get traction, bust through walls. You have to have that. And to be a good salesman, you have to have poise, tenacity, all those character traits. They're so hard to find, you know. And so part of, if you're doing this startup, part of it is a learning experience, even if you fail. You know, you're educating your whole body and mind and character, and it's something you should do. And then next time you're going to be stronger. But money raising.
Yeah, I think you covered all of it. Julianne, Kristen, any other comments? Kristen's over there next to she's next to the bar.
I'm next to the bar.
Yeah.
I've been an IP attorney for 15 years, and I've seen many companies come and go, and the number one reason I've seen that really, really good, solid companies fail is they underestimate the time it takes to raise their larger rounds. And like Chris said, we want to get you to a yes quickly. He said 30, 45 days. When you start going for your later rounds, the more money you want, the longer time it takes you. And if you do not account that it might take you 6 months to raise money, you will be in the worst possible position imaginable. You will be closing your doors, you will be laying people off, and at that point, it's done. So that is the number one thing I've seen, is underestimating the amount of time it takes to raise your larger rounds.
Have you done any kind of study or analysis on the success of the Pasadena Angels versus some of the other angel groups? And what is your success?
That's a great question. We've been around for 15 years, and quite frankly, our record keeping for about 7 or 8 of it was not as solid as we would have liked. So we can talk about the last couple years with a fair amount of confidence, but the first couple years are not as defined. So are you looking for like percentages of winners or whatever like that? I did something that was, this is not a complete data set, but you figure that we had 175 companies. I believe I did a study the other day that was like we had 14 or 15 successful exits. A successful exit means that we got back more money than what we put in. Now there were some where we got the money back where we put in, but we didn't count that. So if you look at the 15 companies on 175, we've done pretty well compared to some of the other groups. But I don't have the data on the other groups, so I can't really talk to that. But our data is right around 15 or so, 13 to 15 of 175, somewhere around there. And there's been a lot, we're no different. When I mentioned we're different than a venture firm, we're no different than a venture firm, is that diversification is a key for us. Because if you invest in one company, you got one shot, right? So when you're like Dale, if you have 60 of them, or like a venture firm, where you have 20 of them, you need that one big winner. You need that one home run, and that makes up, Dr. Wilbank's study shows up, that makes about 90% of your IRR, is that one big winner. So it's a very, very risky business.
Hey, could you comment on the entity type that you most commonly invest in? Is it Delaware C Corporation, California C Corporation, LLC? Does it make any difference? And just provide some color on that.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we prefer you to be a C Corp at some point because of your ability to issue different types of shares and stuff. We like, our favorite is preferred equity. So LLCs, we funded some, but we probably would prefer you to be a C Corp. And that's not to say you don't transition, you say with funding I'll transition or something like that, but in general that's our more preferred. Gives you a lot of options too. It gives you preferred, common. You can do some interesting things with your equity pool for your employees. Gives you a lot of flexibility, I think. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. The Jobs Act created the equity crowdfunding, and I'd like to, I know it's 20 to 50 million, but there's $1 million category. I have 2 questions. How is your Pasadena Angels going to interface with that $1 million equity crowdfunding? And I'd like to hear your comments about the maybe 5 years, 7 years from now, the new second stock market for venture capital, and how you see, that making your deals maybe liquid.
Is that like a secondary market, ma'am? Is that what you're talking about in the stock market for venture capital? I don't understand that.
Part of the Jobs Act was to democratize capital.
Right.
And so they passed the equity crowdfunding laws, 20 to 50, and then the $1 million. Along with that is the creation of a new stock market that's going to be a venture market to make those deals liquid. But it's like they're talking about 5-7 years down the line.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's what, 2 secondary markets for larger funds that are out, for larger stock offerings out there. I can't remember the name of them. Does anyone know? The 2 secondary markets of private companies. You have Facebook shares. You could actually go to this entity and you could sell them to create some liquidity in case you need something.
One is second market.
Second market, yeah. And there's another one too. So those things already exist for the bigger companies. We would love to have something for the smaller companies. The problem is, as you well know, is disclosure, is that they're private companies, so they don't disclose everything. So who takes that liability if they don't tell you everything? And I'm sure they'll work that out over time. On your first question, we're just trying to figure out how to work with the Jobs Act. We have the whole angel group has looked at this through the last several years and are kind of feeling our way around, because quite frankly, the laws weren't written completely, and the regulations are starting to fall out now, and there's starting to be some experience. So we're going to interact with them, but I don't know how we're going to interact with them. And I'm sorry to kind of dodge that question, but we've been watching it very closely, because we obviously, when we invest in something, we want to be able to not have any sort of liability down the road of some investor that was not happy, that maybe something wasn't disclosed. We as accredited investors, you take that risk. You say, if I mess up on this one, I'm not going to be living under the Colorado Bridge, right? And some people may get a little bit more aggressive who are not in that position, and then might litigate against the company, and then that screws everything up. Nothing worse than a startup company that's being sued, right?
Over here, Chris.
Yeah.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
I was wondering, are you solely focused on tech-based companies, or do you also fund manufacturer-based companies, so inventions or patents that are physically created?
We do, and the other members are here, so we proudly funded a chicken farm last year, an organic chicken farm, but we did. So if you look at our range of investments, which you can find at PasadenaAngels.com, it's a wide variety. But frankly, is that technology is, for the capital needed for the space, for the growth that you can get, the valuation growth from our perspective, is probably the best fit for angel investing. But we have a company out in Irwindale called Innovative, which makes carts for the film industry, and actually does all the manufacturing and stuff in Irwindale, a small shop. Has grown very well. It's a small investment. I mean, it's only like a $2 million company, whereas opposed to some other companies, like I mentioned here, grew into hundreds of millions of dollars of companies. So we've invested in all different types, but your chances are probably better in the technology space just because of the upside. We're taking so much risk that there has to be an upside for us, right? There has to be a big upside to take that risk. And so it fits a little bit better into the tech community.
Hi. Hello. So a few questions about the application. One is it a one and done situation? Meaning like you apply, you're rejected, don't come back? If you're rejected, do you get feedback about it and some kind of coaching about, hey, come back with this? And then lastly, just sort of like the best time to apply in the gestation of your company. Like you want to come in with the best sort of profile. Sure. And I'm wondering what that is.
Okay, so one and done. It is not one and done. We have many companies that have come back to us 2 and 3 different times, and the third time was the charm. We have one company that's a clean tech company. It's a solar company that this is their third time and they just made it to the breakfast and they're just hopefully going to get some investment this month. So it is not one and done. We like to stay in touch with our entrepreneurs as they grow. And yes, we do provide feedback. In general, most of the angels will provide a write-up saying, the group didn't like this, they like this, but didn't like this, and give it back to you. And most of them are very open to talking to you about it. I'd say the majority are. And so we do work with you like that. And your last question was, I'm sorry?
Just like the time to apply.
The time to apply is usually, as I mentioned, if you do, your chances are better and your leverage is better if you have a prototype, as I mentioned on the first slide, a prototype, or have some market traction, or you've done some stuff on like Indiegogo or Kickstarter and stuff and have some market validation. If you have non-paying customers, that's great. If you have paying customers, that's better. The leverage, remember the leverage from your point of view changes. The more solid you are, the better the deal that you can extract. So that's really important. That's why sometimes people come to us a little too early and we say, why don't you come back when you hit this milestone, this milestone, this milestone. Then they come back and then we'll try and work with them. But the real key is that it has to fit your funding needs. You have to plan out what you need in terms of trying to get, and that's why Lean Startup is so good, because it really focuses on a minimum viable product. If you get that minimum viable product, people want it, boy, you'll catch our attentions. If all of a sudden Walmart wants it, or the city of Pasadena wants it, or something like that, then you got our attention because you got a customer.
Over here, Chris.
Thank you. How involved are you with the operation and growth of your portfolio companies? And when there's not, let's say a startup company does not have the full kind of team you have, would you actually look out for refer people to the startup, or you actually pick some people from your other companies to the startup that need the people?
Yeah, in terms of how we interact, we really like being on the board. If it's a significant investment, we like really being on the board, and we can help you. What we've seen is that, and Dr. Wilbank's national data set is that angels who are more involved actually get better returns. So we usually ask if we're if we're negotiating as a group for a board seat. And that's part of what we bring is our connections, right? So if you need someone to help with finance, if you don't need a full-time finance person at this point, come on. You need to get the prototype done. You need somebody who has good gravitas in the community that people say, oh, they know what they're doing, the books are good. And we can connect you with those folks, and we have in the past. So our involvement is kind of important. We usually get a champion out of this process as we kind of go through this whole thing. We get a champion, and that person is very helpful to try and get resources for companies.
Okay, I promise you a question.
They just can't take the microphone away from you, Mike.
No,
Do you carry one in your pocket? Do you have one in the car?
Yes. The question is, what was going on in your mind when you decided to become an angel investor?
Well, I think I had a little bit too much to drink first. And whoever's house I was at, it was really good stuff. It was really good stuff. Angel investing is a very risky business, okay? I showed you 3 of the winners right here. And Dale, in your portfolio, not to pick on you again, and you'll never come to one of our events again, but how many of those 60 things have already kind of crapped out? I love making Dale squirm. I love making Dale squirm.
God, there are different stages of crap out too. It's a lot of anxiety. So let's see, at least 6. In the time frame, I've only been doing this 5 years. Thank God. The longer, and if companies die, you actually want them to die fast instead of throwing good money after bad, from an investor's perspective. And I have thrown a lot of good money after bad, unfortunately, but I'd say about 6.
About 10% or so.
In 5 years.
Yeah.
But remember, some of them were only 1-year-olds or 2 years old, so that's too early to know. And then some of them are in purgatory, and then near-death experiences.
Yeah,
like
near-death.
Chris mentioned, that's part of the tenacity and poise that you all have to have, because some of these great companies have had serious near-death experiences.
Absolutely. My body was one of them.
Enough money to make payroll for 30 days or less, and what are we going to do after that? Fire everybody? You know,
So I think, Dale, there's you have to be a little crazy and a little bit of a gambler to be an angel investor. And because of those 20 companies, the rules say that about 10 of them will probably not succeed, okay? And then you'll have that one home run, you'll have a couple singles and doubles, right? And then those 5 will just kind of float along like on the top of the ocean going up and down. So if you get a winner, you're great. Your IRR looks fantastic. If you don't get a real home run, that IRR, you could do much better in investing in other things. It's not for the weak of heart, or if you need that capital. I would not become an angel investor.
Okay, Chris?
Yeah. I have a prototype and I'm trying to package it up. Do you have legal templates and IP templates and pro formas that help us put a package together that you are familiar with and makes it easier for you?
We don't have those packages, and that's a really good question. I know that SBA does. SBA's got some really good financial templates. Who else out there does, Kristen? Anyone have IP templates or anything like that?
Not sure what you're referring to.
He's looking for something to bring us that we would be comfortable with seeing.
Oh, no, I've never seen one. I mean, mostly what I prepare for companies looking for money is basically, and I think investors want to see a list of your IP and the status.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we want to see. Where are you? Just a list, and then we're going to actually dig. If there's significant IP, we're going to dig into that and see what the quality of the IP is.
Follow on, please.
Yeah.
So, for example, an SDK license that I want to put into the marketplace so I can come back and show you that people are using the software. Where is a good place to get that SDK license that you would look at and say, this is a good deal?
Why don't you guys talk afterwards? I think that we don't have any we see all sorts of different models and all sorts of different presentation stuff. There's so much good stuff out there. Mike has a bunch of good stuff. There's people out there with accelerators with good stuff. SBA has good stuff online. You know, just as long as you present it so we can understand it. I mean, that's the whole. And when you talk about IP and stuff, I think I talked to a professional like Kristen to see what would be best.
How about one last question, and I'm going to ask it.
Yeah.
How would you compare the Pasadena Angels with the Design Accelerator and Idea Lab, since they're both here in Pasadena?
We form a little different function than some of those. We actually have, when we talk about the Art Design Center, several of our people are part of that fund. Okay, so we have some common membership there. Idea Lab is for a little bit more mature companies. But we do actually fund some Idea Lab companies that come out. Idea Lab will put the initial money into them, and then when they're ready to kind of graduate to go to the next level, sometimes they come to us. So you're in Pasadena, and I know some of you drove from a bunch of different places, so I don't want to get too local on you, but we have all the components for a great ecosystem when here. We have Innovate Pasadena, which has created a community in a short amount of time of all you. I mean, look at all you people around here. They've done a fantastic job. Let's give it up for them. You have Cross Campus that provides that physical infrastructure for you guys to interact at. So let's give it up for them too. You have the universities. You have Caltech. You got PCC. You got all that. You got the educational side. Then you've got places like Idea Lab, which is kind of this next step up from Cross Campus when you need some more other resources like HR and all that other stuff. When you kind of graduate up, they will invest in you. And along the way, we're kind of the financial resource for the area. And there are others too. The Design Accelerator has a fund that does it, that invests. So I think what's happening here is we're all kind of finding our roles, and then we're finding a way to work together. And I think IP is helping us do that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris.